everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I was so honored when Greenville Can asked me to share the Arrowsmith program with you. My name is Katie Fowler, and I'm the Director of Enhanced Learning and the Arrowsmith program Site Administrator and Cognitive Instructor at Our Lady of the Rosary Catholic School. With me today is Angela Wright. She is my partner teacher in the Arrowsmith classroom. She is also an Enhanced Learning Advocate and a Cognitive Instructor. We brought with us Kristen Scott. She is a professor actually at Clemson University. She is on the OLR school board, and she's had one child complete the Arrowsmith program and currently has another child in the Arrowsmith program at OLR. I want to honor your time today, so I've prepared a folder for you with additional information about the Arrowsmith program, Our Lady of the Rosary, and a more in-depth presentation. Please hold all of your questions until the end. I've also presented you with an index card, so if you could write your question on the index card, if I don't have time today to get an answer to you, you can stick it in a box and I'll reach out directly to you. Today's presentation is about a program that's very different when considering how we typically help students with learning disabilities. I'm just going to ask you to keep an open mind. So first I want to start by telling you a little bit about Our Lady of the Rosary. Our Lady of the Rosary Catholic School opened as a Catholic elementary school in 1955. We've continued to grow over the years, adding a middle school, a K-4 program, the Arrowsmith program, and most recently our upper school. OLR is a special place. Our current enrollment is 120 students. We currently offer an authentic Catholic education for students in K-4 through 10th grade, and we'll be adding 11th grade next year. All of our classes are small in size. We focus on a classical-based curriculum, an environment that's modeled after God's vision of the family. We love our students as individuals and extended family members. This helps them to embrace challenges, accept their unique gifts, and allows them the comfort to try something new. We also offer our Enhanced Learning Advocacy program that helps to support our gifted, exceptional, and twice exceptional students. People often ask me, what is the Arrowsmith program? The most concise answer I can provide is that the Arrowsmith program reduces suffering for people with academic struggles by increasing their ability to learn. The Arrowsmith School was established back in 1980 in Toronto, Canada, and we've been offering the Arrowsmith program at Our Lady of the Rosary for the past 8 years. So for centuries, everyone has believed that the brain was fixed and unchangeable. Many people still believe this, and that makes the diagnosis of a learning disability a lifelong challenge. Under this belief, methods were developed to offer support and to work around the learning disability. These methods are still being used in most schools, including Greenville County. These are the accommodations and modifications that you'll find on most students' IEP or 504 plan. These methods are absolutely valuable. They help children with learning disabilities complete their work and get them through school, but they do not address the root cause or correct the learning disability. These methods only change the work or the child's approach to the work. So why does this matter? This matters because 1 in 5 students in the United States has a learning disability. In 2015-16, 41,809 children were identified as having a specific learning disability just in South Carolina. Many people see a learning disability as an education problem. I just need to get my child through high school. But a learning disability doesn't disappear at graduation. What happens to that child when they leave school? Workplaces cannot offer accommodations and modifications that schools can. A person with a learning disability suffers not only in school, but then it impacts their entire life and their mental health. Recent studies have shown that people with learning disabilities are less likely to do well in school. They're more likely to be unemployed or not seeking employment. Those who are employed earn less money. They're less likely to be married or in a long-term relationship. They're more likely to report suicidal thoughts, depression, and distress. They're also usually in a state of chronic stress, which causes poor mental, physical, and cognitive health. And the list goes on with too many things to mention. What if it didn't have to be this way? What if we could prevent this suffering? The Arrowsmith program can. Barbara Arrowsmith Young is the creator and director of the Arrowsmith program and school. While in college, she wanted to find a better way to address her own learning disabilities. Her search led her to 2 different lines of research for her answers. Alexander Luria proposed that the brain had specific areas and each area completed a specific task, and that those areas worked together to process information. Mark Rosenzweig worked with neurons, which are brain cells, in rats. He found that if the brain was stimulated, the neurons were thicker, heavier, and were more connected. This led to tasks being completed more efficiently and quickly. Barbara put these two lines of research together and proposed that if she designed a specific task to target a brain area, then set specific criteria for speed and accuracy, while gradually increasing the complexity, the brain would change. This is the process needed for neuroplasticity. The process changes the brain. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change and form new connections that result in a permanent change. Neuroplasticity is the primary difference between the Arrowsmith program and traditional support methods. In traditional support methods, the work is changed so the student can complete the work. The Arrowsmith program uses neuroplasticity to change the learner, the person's brain, so that they can complete the work in any way that it's presented. It does not teach specific content, but instead exercises and strengthens the brain's ability to learn content. The Arrowsmith program changes the person. Traditional methods only change the work. When we change the person, it's a lifelong change. It follows these children into adulthood and into the workplace. This means people do not have to live with a learning disability. So based on our belief of neuroplasticity and our understanding on how the brain works, Barbara was able to determine and address the underlying cause or the roots of learning disability diagnoses. When we learn a new skill or complete a task at school, we are using several cognitive brain areas. These are the areas of the brain that process learning. Each area has a specific function, but to complete the task, the cognitive areas need to work together. For example, on this slide is a picture of the brain under an MRI scan while a person is reading out loud. 5 cognitive areas are activated when somebody reads out loud, and all of those areas need to work together to complete the task. If one of these areas is slightly weak, we may see a little struggle. But if multiple areas are weak, or there's a significant weakness in an area, the task is considerably harder and becomes possibly impossible. The cognitive areas are not able to work together. The flow of information is not efficient. These cognitive weaknesses are the underlying or the roots of the academic struggle and usually lead to the diagnosis of a learning disability. The 5 areas shown on this slide are usually the underlying areas responsible for the diagnosis of dyslexia. The Arrowsmith program has identified 19 cognitive areas and designed exercises to strengthen these areas. In the Arrowsmith classroom, students can work on developed cognitive exercises that target, stimulate, and strengthen their individual specific cognitive weaknesses so they can address the root cause of their learning disability. This is a much better way to address learning disabilities because once their cognitive areas are strengthened, usually by participating in the program for around 3 years, they have a significant reduction or elimination of their learning disability. Students have been tested 30 years out of the Arrowsmith program and they show no drop-off in function because once a brain area is strengthened and neuroplasticity has occurred, the brain uses these cognitive areas in everyday thinking. Think of it like this. If you break your leg, the doctor doesn't just give you a crutches and tell you, which is a tool, and tell you to live with it. The doctor identifies the break and sets it. He does give you crutches as a tool to use while you're healing. But once the bone is healed and you have your strength back, you no longer need the crutches or the exercises. Your leg keeps its strength by using it by walking every day. This is what the Arrowsmith program does for learning disabilities. Most students who complete the Arrowsmith program no longer need their IEP or 5 or 4 support tools to complete their work. They're able to return to the classroom as confident, typical students who have the ability to learn. These types of results are not typical when we use traditional methods that are focused on changing the work because they will always need their support and the tools to help them. This is why the Arrowsmith program is a better way to address these learning disabilities. Many students qualify for the Arrowsmith program. A typical candidate has usually been diagnosed with a learning disability or is a student who's struggling academically to keep up with their peers, but is as intelligent as their peers. The Arrowsmith program does not require a diagnosis to be a candidate for the program, but we highly encourage all struggling students to be evaluated. Arrowsmith program instructors have been trained to screen for candidacy for the program, and will consult the Arrowsmith program team in Toronto if we have questions about a specific student. We're happy to talk with any family who's interested in the Arrowsmith program. We've also worked with a wide range of typical and complex students in the Arrowsmith classroom at OLR. If you have questions about a specific type of diagnosis at the end, let me know and I'll be happy to talk about it with you. This is an example of a student's success after working on the motor symbol sequencing exercise for 18 months. This student had a diagnosis of dysgraphia and dyslexia. This exercise helps the students to have better visual tracking and handwriting. It increases their processing speed, but it also increases the student's ability to write, think, and listen at the same time, which is essential for being able to take notes efficiently in a classroom. What you're seeing here is the first sample was from September 20th. The next one was from that same school year and February 26th. And the next one was actually from February 18th of 2016. So what you're looking at is from September to February, the student obviously had significant improvement. But then over there, obviously in about 18 months, he was now able to write in cursive and write a much longer sample. This is another example of a student's success. I'm actually going to read both of these writing samples to you so you can hear how 1 year in the Arrowsmith program can significantly help a student. This student started the Arrowsmith program at OLR in 6th grade. He was diagnosed with dyslexia and dysgraphia, and he'd been in the Orton Gillingham tutoring program for several years. He was reading on grade level. These samples were both a timed sample for 30 minutes of unassisted writing. So this first sample, which was from October 1st, says, "What would you change about school?" He says, "No homework. I don't like it, especially when there's a lot of it. And I like the candy here. It's very good. And the frogs and the typing and the teachers are nice." So the first thing most people notice is the handwriting. But his spacing is also poor. He didn't use any of the mechanics of writing, indentation, capitalization, punctuation. He also couldn't stay on topic. He used very basic words. His writing doesn't make any sense unless you were in the classroom that year, and even then it's fragmented. This was also all he was capable of completing in 30 minutes. The second sample is for May of that same school year. The topic was "Where I See Improvements." When I started Arrowsmith this year, it was really hard, but it got easier day by day. Then about halfway through the year, I had an F in math. After that, my other class grades started going down, but Arrowsmith was still good. So the next progress report, I had a C in math, an A in religion, and a B in English. My teachers, parents, even my friends were astounded. From that point on, my life was easy and fun. My previous report card was 3 Bs. At the beginning of this year, I could not even write this paper. My sports, even my video games improved thanks to Arrowsmith. Arrowsmith saved my life because I almost killed myself 2 years ago because I would pray for smartness but never got it. After 2 years, my prayers were answered. Arrowsmith is the best thing that ever happened to me. All the, and he's naming exercises now, word, trace, submotor, and lexical saved my life. I used to go to public school in 2nd grade. I was just barely held back, but my life was terrible. I was picked on for my grades. I was sent to the principal's office for fighting back. Then they started stealing my stuff, so we up and left. I go to OLR, another good thing that's happened. I think Arrowsmith is good and cool. My friends think it's stupid and out of whack, but I think they are just jealous. So in the end, my life was really saved. And now I know what it feels like to be normal. Now I get respect for my grades. So the first thing you notice, obviously, is his handwriting has improved. He's writing in cursive. He still has some work to do, but he's made significant improvements in a year. His mechanics and writing are improved. He still made a lot of grammatical errors, but compared to the beginning of the year, he indented at the beginning, and he indented when he started a new paragraph. He used some commas appropriately. He did use 1 period at the end of a sentence. The other significant improvement is that he used a much more complex vocabulary. He was able to get his ideas down on paper and express himself. he recognized that he was getting off his original topic and started a new paragraph and made it a conclusion paragraph. He was able to write a much longer essay in 30 minutes. This student completed 3 years in the Arrowsmith program at OLR. He then went on to a local private high school. At high school, he was a member of the Junior National Honor Society and the National Honor Society each year. He graduated from high school in May of 2019. He actually invited me to his high school graduation and included a note and told me that he was going to be honored as an honored graduate. I wasn't able to be at his graduation ceremony, but I did get to see him and catch up with his family when Barbara Arrowsmith Young came and visited Our Lady of the Rosary in October. He is currently at Anderson University, and his mom recently told me that he made the dean's list for his first semester in college. This is the difference that the Arrowsmith program can make for a student. I have many other students who have examples like this. Some of them you can see in the back. There's a book in the back you can look at. Just want to give you a little bit of information about the Arrowsmith program around the world. So Barbara Arrowsmith Young is an international best-selling author. She wrote the book, The Woman Who Changed Her Brain, to raise awareness about learning disabilities and the Arrowsmith programs through methods through neuroplasticity. The Arrowsmith program continues to grow and expand. The Arrowsmith program is offered in 10 countries and is in about 100 schools. There are over 1,500 students in the Arrowsmith program yearly, and the Arrowsmith program has helped over 10,000 students. Barbara Arrowsmith Young has presented the Arrowsmith program to places like Microsoft Research, Google. She participated in a TEDx talk and was on the 60 Minutes television show in Australia. She's also spoken at many other universities and educational organizations. You can view some of those presentations on the Arrowsmith program website. We are the only school in South Carolina that offers a full-time program, and we're very honored to be included in this small but elite group. The other books that are pictured here all have additional information about the Arrowsmith program. So I want to show you just a glimpse of the few of the research studies. We do have a few copies of the most recently released research report from the Arrowsmith program. If you'd like more information, we'd be happy to give you one of those. We did include a one-page summary of the research findings to date that's in your Arrowsmith folder. You can also find additional information about the research studies on the Arrowsmith program website. So this first research study was conducted at the University of Southern Illinois in 2018. This is the most exciting research that I've seen about the Arrowsmith program. Basically, what this study shows is students who were diagnosed with learning disabilities showed the traits of that learning disability on an fMRI, which is a brain scan, before they started the Arrowsmith program. After 1 year in the Arrowsmith program, the student had another fMRI brain scan, and it showed that their brain now looks and is functioning more like a student without a learning disability. The learning disability is being corrected in the brain. This is another study that was done at the University of Southern Illinois. It showed that students with diagnosed learning disabilities who participated in 1 year of the Arrowsmith program had significant gains in 8 areas on the Woodcock-Johnson 5 test of cognitive abilities assessment. This is a common test that's used as part of an assessment for learning disabilities, and most times students don't see a tremendous gain like they were seeing with these results. This last study is a pie graph that shows the change in resource support. So basically on this post-study, 69% of students after the Arrowsmith program no longer needed to have resource support. 5% still needed 4 to 8 periods of support, and that was a small percentage of the students who were not actually able to complete their Arrowsmith program, so all of their cognitive areas did not get addressed. There was a follow-up study done on the students who still needed 1 period of support, and it showed that most students only needed that period of support for 1 school year, and it was used for completing homework and exams as the student was trying to transition back into a full general academic schedule. This is one of the reasons that the Toronto Catholic School District Board decided to offer the Arrowsmith program free in some of their schools. It was less expensive to offer the Arrowsmith program for 3 to 4 years to a student than to offer accommodations for all 12 years of their education. So what all this means is that the Arrowsmith program reduces lifelong suffering by strengthening the student's ability to learn. Students with learning disabilities no longer have to face the all-encompassing problems that come from having learning disability. Barbara Arrowsmith Young's vision is a world where no child would struggle with a learning disability, a world where all students could have access to cognitive training so that all students would have the ability to learn efficiently. This is not a reality at this time, but hopefully someday cognitive exercises will greatly reduce the number of students who have a learning disability. I want to thank Greenville Ken and all of you for having me today. I'm happy to answer any questions with some remaining time. If you wrote some questions down on your index card, please just drop them off before you leave. Any questions?
I have one question. Can folks who are not enrolled in OLR, like, do you do anything for folks that would benefit from what you're doing with Arrowsmith that aren't technically OLR students?
We do offer a limited number of spaces to homeschooling students. So they don't come to Our Lady of the Rosary for their school. They're homeschooled and they just do Arrowsmith.
Other questions, Paul?
So how much of the day is spent with Arrowsmith?
So they do 4 classes of Arrowsmith and 3 general academic classes.
When you say learning disabilities, what type of learning disabilities other than dyslexia? I'm seeing that maybe only that's the only thing that y'all cover.
There's actually a list in that folder that talks about everything we cover. We cover a wide range of learning disabilities. But remember, we're looking at the underlying cause of the learning disability. So we're getting down to the roots underneath the diagnosis. So each child is kind of looked at as an individual.
Oh, and I've got another question. So the exceptional
South Carolina
Yes.
scholarship? Yes.
is OLR
Yes.
one of the schools for that? And are y'all aware of that program? So it's for folks that go to private schools. If you have any kind of learning disability, as long as you get the doctor, the kind of the note with that or whatever. And
As long as you have an IEP, either through Greenville County or you've had a doctor sign
Yeah.
off, then yeah, you can get up to $11,000 a year towards private school education.
yeah, so
That's not guaranteed.
it's not guaranteed, but
Yeah.
we do it with my son, and he was assessed at Clarity, and he has dysgraphia or whatever, but it's been a huge help. So a lot of people just don't know about that, so that's something to share with folks.
Yeah, and actually there's, in the presentation that's in the folder, there is a slide actually about exceptional SC.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So who is that through?
It's through the state,
Yes.
and it's privately funded, so that people get donations to it. But the application is really, really simple, and it's for folks that want to use a private school as an opportunity, but have a student that needs a little extra support or whatever. So, but it's a really easy application. You got to pay for the assessment if you don't have it already, or but. Any other questions? Yes.
How many students do you currently have in the high school grades, 9th and 10th grade?
9th and 10th grade, I think we have 9 students right now.
Total in those 2 grades.
Total in those 2 grades.
You said you're expanding to 11th grade,
Mhm.
so the plan is to go then through 12?
Through, yes, that's correct.
Perfect.
What is the ages that Arrowsmith program serves?
So at Our Lady of the Rosary, we generally take students starting in 3rd grade. We have taken students on specific cases as low as 2nd grade. Arrowsmith will do 5 and 6-year-olds. We're just not set up in that capability. The ratio needs to be different. At Our Lady of the Rosary, it's a maximum ratio of 1 to 10. We're about 1 to 6. So, but we'll never be more than 1 to 10. So, but with the younger kids, you need different ratios.
The teaching methodology between Orton and Arrowsmith, what does the instruction methodology look like? Orton and Wilson are very similar.
Arrowsmith's completely different.
Okay, can you share a little bit about what the...
I can't really share a whole lot about the methodology. What I can say is that the students have exercises. So what happens is a student has an assessment that we provide for them, and then it's reviewed by the team in Toronto. They're given a specific profile and then assigned specific exercises based on their individual weaknesses. Okay? They start at a level that's just above their current function. So it's something they can do, but it takes work. And so they work through that specific profile through their time in the Arrowsmith program. Generally, the exercises, there's a wide range of exercises. But they're doing the exercises themselves. So this isn't content. Remember, it's exercises. So in Orton, a lot of times they're, memorizing phonograms and using different tools to kind of unlock the code of reading. This is not like that. This is completely different.
That goes back to my other question. So if someone, can someone, obviously I'm asking about mine, someone's got dysgraphia, is it possible to access the activities of Arrowsmith directly through Arrowsmith?
No. It has to be done at a school.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Do you have any other activities, traditional clubs and things like that at the school? After school type activities or?
Every year it changes. Historically we've had volleyball, basketball, cross country, we have cheerleading, we have some theater stuff, we do, we're a typical school. Yeah, we have a chess club that just got started. So we have a bunch of different things that we offer, outside. It's not obviously as big as you would have in a big school. There's 120, we have around 120 students, and in prior years, up to 150, 160 students, but the activities that we're offering.
Social,
We do.
fun time.
Yes. We also offer a wonderful part of our school called Mission Day, where we're serving different missions. It happens one day every month. The students are taken out of academics. They all are on household teams. That happens basically starting in 3rd grade. They play games against each other. They work on a project to serve a mission in the community. They have lunch together as a group. We've done trivia and volleyball and relay races, and they also earn house points. So nobody loses points, but for special things around school that are more than like what's typically required. So students crying and someone goes up to be a good friend, something like that. They would get a house point. And so the 4 houses are in competition all throughout the year. And so that's kind of another way that we bring kids together. We also have other things that we do, throughout the year, different, fall festival, we have field day, basketball night. There's a lot of things that we do at the school.
All right, let's give them a big hand. Thank you. So I can encourage y'all.